Alright, Shalom. Of course, I'm going to start off with giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh who the world ignorantly calls God, Yahweh Shai who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I'm just out here, just cruising out here in Babylon, which is the United States, right? It's not no Vatican City, not no Jerusalem, man. But I'm going to call this video the climax. Alright, because clearly, man, the time that we're in right now, this is like the climax of all the events taking place in the world, man. Literally, if you've watched the news, you got idiots out there saying, oh, don't pay attention to the news because that's all there to, to trick you, right? That's all there to deceive you, right? It's all fake. All the news is fake. But you gotta be stupid to say all the news is fake, because there's clearly much of that stuff on there can be verified from many sources. Of course, that doesn't mean you should blindly just believe everything you see. Of course not. But a vast majority of that is true and reliable. It's not like the people working for these news agencies are deliberately sitting on there lying to you on purpose. That's just not true. Now, again, of course, there's some things that you should question that you're being told by the mainstream news, of course. But that doesn't mean that literally every news story on there is there to deceive you. There's real events that take place in the world. And it boggles the mind how I even have to mention that. This should be just like common knowledge that, real things actually take place in the world. But apparently that's like such a far-fetched, idea for a lot of these, so-called truthers to digest on the internet. But anyway, going back to the title of the video, man, is everything that is taking place in the world clearly is lining up with what Christ warned about, that'd be taking place, leading up to his second return, man. All you gotta do is read what is that, 2nd Ezra 15, 16, right? Both of those chapters, Mark 13, Matthew 24, among others, right? But those are like that's where you get like the details, right? That's where you get the details as to what he warned about, what would be taking place on earth, leading up to his second arrival. We see all those things, and it's not only this year. These things have been taking place for years and years, like even going back, say for example, I can remember say 2016, right? Things were going on back then too, right? We were in the end times, 2016. But shit, things happening, that year compared to this year, you really can't compare the two. Right now, you got so much shit going on, man, that it's like shit. You damn near have to be, unemployed just to to keep up with the news, because if you're not, you'll miss it. It's too much, you can't keep up with it, right? So the brother joked around like, it's like shit, man. There's so much going on right now in the news. You got to be damn near, unemployed just so you can keep up with the current events in the world. You know what I'm saying? And that just shows a sign of the times, man. People going around saying like we're in peaceful times right now. That we're in peaceful times. Like these dudes on YouTube, right? Like, Primal Man, a professing preterist. What's this other cat? Ruben, I believe his name is. Could be mistaken. Oh, Lou. This guy, Lou. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but these, these cats out here that I just mentioned, going around, oh, everything's fine, don't worry about nothing. What the hell are these guys talking about, man? Shit. Anybody who's paying attention, you can see that these are not normal times, man. You know, we're not living in a peaceful time. I mean, anybody who believes that, I mean, that's just delusional. That's just delusional right there. Shit, I didn't even bring up the fact that, half the Earth's population, or half of the Earth's population has, these Corolla waxes. You know, you gotta use code language. You know, but half of the Earth's population, if not more, got these, as Mina Shrek would say, these roosters up in them, right? Because you got people dropping dead left and right, young, healthy athletes dropping dead due to, heart attacks and shit. You know, and you have surgeons coming out now saying that, when they perform these operations on people, they're finding like there are these long white, stretchy, like kind of like if you ever had a rubber band before, right? It's kind of like the same consistency as a rubber band, right? But they're finding these things inside of people's bodies, when they do surgeries on people and shit. And they say, that this wasn't, we didn't find these things until, after, people got these Corolla waxes, got to use code language. So it shows you, man, that, they're trying to kill off the population. And you try to show people these things, nobody wants to hear it. But that's just what it is. That's just what it is, man. You'll be hated for, for speaking what's right. And that's what it is, right? Everybody out here thinks that their government is there for their own good, right? Their own good. And I say that, the United States government, right, all involved, they've committed atrocities and pure crimes against humanity. And really, the United States government is more corrupt than the government of China. And one reason I'll say this is because over in China, they'll, what do they call it? Totalitarianism? Where they have, total, control over the population over there. So somebody might say, well, wait a second. In America, you're free, but in China, they have full control over you. So how could you say that, America's worse? Well, I'll answer that. The reason why it's worse, one of the examples, is again, over in China, they'll tell you that, again, they have total control over you. They'll just come out and say it. But in the United States, they'll tell you, you're free this, free that, but you have to abide by all of these arbitrary decrees that are made up. Again, they can literally make up anything they want, and you'll be forced to abide by it. So again, you get the illusion that you're, free in America. But that's why the U.S. government is worse than the Chinese government, because China, they'll come out and tell you that just on face value that we have total control over you. You can't do nothing without our permission. But over here, the reason why it's worse is they give you a illusion that you have a choice, which is not true. You don't have a choice over here. You have a illusion of a choice, but you don't actually have a choice. You have to go along to get along. If you don't obey what they tell you, they'll send men with guns to hurt you. That's what they do. They call them law enforcement. Again, what their job is, we will obey our masters because we're told to do that. So again, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you do something against the overlords, aka the U.S. government, they'll send men with guns. They're enforcers to hurt you. That's what they do. That's what they do. And again, no, you can't do anything to stop that. That's why I call them a mafia gang. Right? The U.S. government is a mafia gang. And anybody who can't see that, you're just delusional. It's just that simple. Now again, there's no difference between a government and a mafia group. There's no difference. The mafia group, they issue out commands, you obey them, or send their armed thugs to hurt you. But the government, they'll issue commands, they call them laws, and if you don't obey them, they'll send men with guns to hurt you. So again, there's literally no difference. They just call it something different. They just call it, they don't call themselves a mafia group, but that's really what they are. Like say for an example, if you call an orange an apple, that doesn't change the fact that it's still an orange, right? So again, they can call themselves government, but it doesn't change the fact of what they actually are, just because they might call themselves something different. So again, people out here, man, don't got any clue what the hell is going on. Everybody's out here, like on 4th of July, right? Everybody's like, oh yeah, America, freedom this, freedom that, right? God bless the United States, such a free country. It's like, well, wait a second. How the hell in one sentence can you say that you're a freedom-loving American, but then in the other stance you'll be like, oh, well, I'm a loyal, obedient, law-abiding citizen? How the hell could you be a law-abiding citizen, but yet a freedom-loving American? At the same time, you can't. You cannot be. But again, that's the delusion that these people out here, that's the delusion they're in, man. Everybody out here thinks they know shit about something. All these people, think they're free, right? America this, America that. But then they'll turn around and call themselves, oh, well, I'm a freedom-loving American. Now, how the hell could you be a freedom-loving American if at the same time you boast about that you obey what you're told by the authority? I mean, those two statements literally contradict themselves. But again, these simps out here, are not on any type of level to get that. First of all, these cats out here think they're living on a globe spinning 1,000 miles an hour. You ask them, well, how the hell do you know that exactly? They got no clue. It's like, say for example, you ask them, it's like, you do know that this guy named, what's this guy, Robert Simmons, the dude that works for NASA, right, painting these globes. It's like, shit, you do know that he came out and admitted that, like, the blue marble, right, the blue marble picture, I believe it was back in, 2002, I believe. And the dude came out and said, it's like, yeah, well, this is photoshopped, but it has to be, right? We have to, make it Photoshop for this or that reason. It's like, wait a second, so you guys are just going to accept this without question? It's like, that literally makes no sense. Why the hell would you just believe what somebody told you without questioning it? Again, it literally makes no sense. But somehow, we're viewed as the weird guy. We're the weird one for asking questions. And it's it's unfortunate that people think that way, but it's again, that's the mind effery that they got the population under, man. Where you're viewed as a weird person for questioning the social norms. And again, it's a damn shame that the population has been dumbed down to such a extent, that you're considered weird if you question authority. But then in the same breath they'll be like, well, we are, we can think for ourselves, because again, we're freedom loving, right? We're freedom loving. We can think for ourselves because we live in a democracy, right? We don't live under, a totalitarian government. It's like, but wait a second. It's like, you do know literally everything in your life, there's restrictions that they've set up to operate how you can and cannot live. You do know that, right? So in what sense are you free? And again, they have no clue. They just know, well, I've heard school taught me I'm free, so I repeat it because I'm free. Again, these people out here got no idea what the hell they're talking about. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame, man. But there's a rude awakening coming. People are going to find out real quick, man. This ain't no game out here, man. Because America, aka Mystery Babylon, this place is on its way out, man. Right, America, right, their beloved America, this nation's on its decline, man. That's why I named the video The Climax. Ever watched an action movie, right? During the movie, it might be slow, but nearing the end of the movie is when the action takes place, right? That's the climax of the movie, right? So we're in the climax right now, right? We're at the time where things start getting good, man. Just as Minor Shrek used to say, hey, the Bible's looking pretty good right now. Yeah, the Bible is looking pretty good. Why? Because, you see the last prophecies in the Bible lining up to take place. You know, we see that. We see the last prophecies lining up to take place right now, man. You know, so really we're in the climax of this thing. Is the world going to end tomorrow? No. Is it going to end next week? No. But we're in the time period when these prophecies are going to start coming to pass left and right, man. You know, that's why Apostle Dahar said that, you know, these prophecies are popping off like popcorn. And it's true, man. You know, you're seeing these things, you know, left and right. It seems like there's something new going on every single day that's, you know, world changing, so to speak, right? You see shit going on every single day, it seems. You know, so as far as America, you know, this empire's on her last legs, man. That doesn't mean it's going down tomorrow. Doesn't mean it's going down today, because it takes a number of, it takes an order of time. Right, prophecy has an order of time to it. So America's on her decline, but that doesn't mean that she's gonna go down today or tomorrow or even this year. Because these things, they take a number of time to happen, right? There's an order to things. Say for example, you know, if you were to go a couple hundred years back during the castle age, right, when armies would besiege a castle, they might use a ballista or a trebuchet or a catapult to try to throw huge, you know, 100-pound stones at a massive brick wall. And, you know, just by throwing 10 of these stones at the wall, it's not going to be enough to collapse it. But if you keep throwing these stones at it over the course of time, the wall is going to collapse and you can send your infantry into the castle without trying to go through the original gate of the castle, right, the drawbridge. So how that analogy, what's the word I'm looking for? How that can compare to today's time, even though there's not, you know, castles today that, you know, are considered empires. The way it compares to today is, you know, a nation, say for an example, America, the way it collapsed, right, brick by brick, so to speak, is for one, economic, social, and of course militarily. So as far as, say for an example, societal collapse, we'll say, we clearly see that going on today. Say for an example, man, the things that people today in 2023 will accept as being okay and moral standard, you know, people didn't accept these things, you know, 40, 50 years ago. Hell, even going back to my early childhood, because I was born in like the early 2000s, right? So going back then, you know, from what I can remember, you know, people didn't really openly accept, you know, the act of, I call them rainbows because I got to use code language on here. But rainbows, right, same-sex marriage, people did not accept this back then. People did not accept these things back in those times, right? Just say 20 years ago. That's something new within the last, say, decade or whatever, that people have just accepted. Why? They accepted it due to conditioning, right? They were taught how to think, and that's how they think. Like, say for an example, the U.S. government comes out with a decree by the corrupt politicians and say, okay, well, it's now legal for a man to marry a man, and everybody else will be like, oh, yep, we'll see, now it's okay, because we'll see there's a law saying it's okay. What is the scripture? Psalms 94 verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with you, those who frame mischief by a law? Right, and that's what the U.S. government does. They frame mischief by a law. There's countless laws that they set up that you know, they're to cause harm to people, you know, and to make your life more difficult than what it has to be, you know. So so again, going back to my example I gave, right, people will be like, oh, you know, well, rainbow marriage, you know, it's okay because there's rules set up, you know, saying that it's okay. It's like, well, you do know that just because they have a rule on something, it don't mean it's right. Let's say for an example, right, if you go back, you know, to the 1800s, even in America, right, Mystery Babylon, back then, they even let, slavery was allowed back then. So then I ask, it's like, oh, okay, so would you then agree with slavery? Because it's laws set up that allow slavery, right? So you guys were like, well, if there's rules on something that makes it right, it's like, well, you're cut then. I mean, your argument is completely cut to shreds, just with that one statement alone. So again, I like to take Larken Rose advice. This is how I look at things. Just as Larken Rose said, when you have a debate with somebody, like say for an example, someone asked me the other day, well, why would I have a debate with someone like, say, Polymath or Locke, inside joke, or Melvin, or just people like that who have different views. And I'll respond and say, well, you see, the answer to that question is I take what Larken Rose said. And his statement goes, when I have a debate with somebody, I'm not trying to, change your viewpoint on the topic, but what I'm trying to do is provide information so that the audience who is listening to the conversation can hear both sides of the argument and come to their own conclusion based on the information provided. So in a debate, say if there's 20 people watching, well, usually it goes much higher than that, but just to give a hypothetical, I'll give, in the debate, they'll hear my side of the argument and hear his side of the argument. Then they'll get to see where we can go back and forth on whatever topic. And then they can decide what to believe for themselves based on the information they hear both sides bring up. And especially when we do the cross-examination round, when we get to, challenge each other's belief, then they can see, whose belief ranks superior and whose does not, which most of the time, I would argue almost all the time, my point of the argument is superior, and everybody can see that because I'm a logical person, right? I use logic and common sense, but most of these individuals that we deal with use personal opinions and how they feel about shit. That's just, that's what it is, unfortunately, right? Most of these people out here just, repeat how they feel about shit. Like, I'll give an example, man. Like, it boggles my mind because it's like, you can't even have a conversation with a so-called Bible believer. You can't even have a conversation with a so-called Bible believer because they'll get emotional when you talk about the Bible. It's like, think about that for a second. It's like, what the hell? How the hell could you claim that you believe in the scriptures, but yet you're emotional and don't want to have a conversation about the scriptures? I mean, it's like, shit, that don't make sense. I got to give Muslims credit. At least they'll, always be willing to have a conversation about the beliefs that they believe in, right? I got to give them credit on that. At least they're willing to have a conversation about the topics they believe in regarding the, the Quran and, the Muslim beliefs. Whereas a Christian, they'll, get emotional and, oh, well, I don't want to talk. It's like, well, why the hell don't you want to talk, though? I mean, why will you not talk? Again, they got no idea. So again, it's just, it's ridiculous, but these are the individuals that you're dealing with. But I'm not going to make this too long. I just wanted to just speak about a couple things. And I think I'll end it off with that.